the speaker of the hour, Margarita Anderson.
I'm so happy to be here. Dr. Bill Lucy, President Melvin, Vice President Harmon, the entire CBTU board and executive leadership, all of our delegates, CBTU sponsors, all of the represented unions here tonight, all of our honored guests, our awardees. I'm truly humbled by this honor to speak to all of you as we close out the 48th annual convention of CBTU. I must, before I begin, put my heart on a platter for our friend, my close friend, Larry, for making this possible, for inviting me, for supporting me, for showing me the way. Thank you, Larry, for honoring my family and our work in this special way. I want to honor you tonight. I dedicate my presentation, my words, and my heart to you tonight, my friend, Larry. Thank you. Let me please also take a moment to recognize IUPAT President Ken Rigmader, my new friend, fellow freedom fighter, so strong and successful and smart. I truly appreciate all of the love and excellence you've shown me and all the royal treatment. Thank you, Marcus and Donna and Tamara and all my new friends here who have given me so much love. Thank you all for making this struggle a little easier and so much more worthwhile. Thank you. And I know I don't do it enough, so let me take this chance to thank and praise God for giving me the wisdom and the courage to conduct and carry out the empowerment experiment, my family's famous pledge to live off the businesses and products and professionals of my Black community for an entire year and do so for all the world to see. You know that our stand and our sacrifice dominated headlines, front pages of the Washington Post, Chicago Tribune, LA Times, New York Times, many more, major segments on CNN, C-SPAN, CBS News, MSNBC, Fox News, ABC News, BET News, Tom Joyner, Black Enterprise, Essence, countless TV and radio shows, newspapers and magazines. We touched millions all over the globe. Then I wrote my book, Our Black Year, which is a tribute to our Black business and economic history and a detailed account of our stand. Northwestern University's Kellogg completed a landmark study based on my family's journey, the data we collected, the receipts that we saved. My family made history, the first ever real-life case study on self-help economics, and we generated the most media attention ever on the plight of Black-owned businesses and our country's still very racially divided economy. So here are a few more highlights from our experiment. We spent or otherwise invested that year $94,000 with Black-owned businesses that we would not have otherwise. Over 90% of our spending went directly into underserved, predominantly Black neighborhoods. We went without. We are disappointed by the number of markets and industries where we still suffer from a complete lack of representation. We are disheartened by our own people's lack of pride and solidarity. Our hearts ached seeing up close what our people, Black people, have to go through in these retail and food deserts. Can't get a piece of fish or a banana, forced to settle for inferior goods and services doled out from under bulletproof glass, from extortionate prices and enduring disrespect from shop owners who won't live in the community, sometimes don't even hire the community, but use the poor people's community money to send their kids to college. It was hurtful and fearful being called a racist, a Nazi, and the other N-word, getting death threats and hate mail. It still hurts my heart when I think about what I put my baby girls through, begging me, their mama, for fruit, for toys, milk, going to school crying with their shoes too tight, and belly poking out of their shirts, and coming home crying because they were teased, all because it took me 5 whole months to find one outlet, Black-owned, that sold toddler clothing and shoes. I made my girls eat gas station food like old bologna and over-sugared cereal for dinner because the one Black-owned grocery store, that beautiful store you saw in the video, closed 5 months before we finished our year. All of those businesses that you saw, the ones that we loved and lived off of, the ones you'll read about in the book, they're gone. And less than 2 months after I finished our historic year, my mother died in my arms, losing a hard-fought battle with pancreatic cancer. My immigrant mother, a Cuban farm girl who never made it to high school, but was wise enough to teach me her only daughter, that our being from Cuba didn't make us not black or less black. Mima taught me that just meant that my black ancestors got dropped off a little earlier. That's what Mima taught me. And she was sick that whole year, and I know that she suffered longer than she should have just to live to see me complete this year and see us live out our pledge to our community and our country. Yes, we lost a lot that year. We learned a lot too, and that's really significant because before that year, John and I thought that we had it all and that we knew it all. As you know, John got his undergrad from Harvard. He's from Detroit. Got his MBA in finance, Detroit, UAW. Got his degree in economics and finance from Northwestern. He's a financial advisor, as you saw in the video. So if any of you all are looking for one, he is the best, he is brilliant, and he is black. I grew up in Liberty City, Miami. I came here, Liberty City in the house. Came here to Atlanta for college. I went to Emory University, and then I worked as an aide while I was here to our icon, our civil rights icon, our hero, Congressman John Lewis. After Atlanta, I then went to Chicago, where I went to the University of Chicago for my MBA and my law degree, and where I learned constitutional law, among many other things, from one then Professor Barack Obama, 44th President of the United States of America. And we fell in love while we were both in graduate school. Now that's John and I, not the president and I. Y'all don't get me in trouble with Michelle. I know y'all taping this. John and I fell in love while we were in graduate school. And we got great jobs at big companies. We bought a home in a pricey suburb, had our own beautiful little baby girls, and we're living out our fancy fairy tale life. And we supported our community, sort of. We were active in the youth ministry at the Black church. John's a mentor with 100 black men. We voted black. We got mad when a black person got shot or dogged out in the news. We got happy when black folks were nominated for awards or a black coach made it to the Super Bowl. We were black, just not buying black. But everything else, very, very black. Well, black-ish. Y'all know what I'm talking about. We donated to the UNCF when they bugged us enough. But philanthropy is commendable, but it must not cause the philanthropist to overlook the circumstances of economic injustice which make philanthropy necessary. Dr. King said that. So what are those circumstances of economic injustice, and what were we supposed to do about them? In the Asian American community, a dollar circulates among that community's banks and retailers and professionals for 28 days before it goes outside. Our Jewish friends keep their dollar for 19 to 21 days, and that's why these groups have the lowest unemployment and incarceration rates and the highest household incomes and educational achievement. In the black community, our dollar lives for 6 hours. And since the 80s, our wealth, our power, flying away. Our businesses, our culture, and just as sure, our children dying off. So now, virtually all the businesses in black areas, all the businesses and products catering to black culture in the stores are not owned, made, or distributed by black firms. Black radio, black TV, black magazines, news and dating websites, hair and skincare, beauty products, toys, entertainment, black but not black owned. So what could one couple do about that? We didn't know, but we also knew some other facts. That before integration, during Dr. King's young life, when we had our own businesses, the dollar circulated in the community for years. After emancipation, we had great business power. We built schools and churches and banks, insurance companies, grocery stores, hotel chains, drug stores, department stores, hardware stores, daycare systems, hospital systems, farming regions, our own stock brokerages. All kinds of shops and professionals thrived, all black owned. This is what King saw growing up. Hundreds of millions created and recycled in the black community. The dollar would stay with us for years. And those businesses helped the movement. Madam C.J. Walker, the mother of black hair care industry and the first black woman millionaire, she enabled the NAACP and the National Conference on Lynching. Black-owned banks and insurance companies were the backbone of the community then, like North Carolina Mutual Life Insurance Company and Mechanics and Farmers Bank. Unemployment was at the same level or even lower than that of whites nationally from 1880 through 1940. Lower because we employed each other. in the vibrant neighborhoods of Tulsa and Durham and Tampa and Jacksonville and Louisville's Russell neighborhood and Sistrunk Boulevard and Fort Lauderdale and Bronzeville in Chicago and Harlem and Auburn Avenue right here in Atlanta and so many more. King could not have led those marches and made those demands and had those meetings at the White House and organized the boycotts and the protests without the steady support of strong Black-owned businesses, banks, and press. And that's why racists and supremacists so violently resisted the success of the Black business community, the rise of Black wealth, and they tried to destroy our economic unity. Over 90% of the thousands of lynchings that happened during Reconstruction and Jim Crow were of business owners. Did you know that? And when that area they called Black Wall Street in Tulsa was bombed and then burned by racists, white crowds watched, and they called it a Negro barbecue. But we stayed together, even still. We kept supporting each other, even still. We built strong businesses, and those businesses kept the community strong. That's what we did. But now, almost everything that King and the movement fought for and built is gone or at risk. That pride and that prosperity and that power that he grew up seeing no longer exist. The bank that Jackie Robinson built so that Black families can get mortgages and Black entrepreneurs can get business loans, Freedom National Bank, is gone, along with many others. We celebrate Jackie, celebrate King when we talk about great American racial progress. But the banks that they built and they fought for and the banks that helped them make that progress, they're gone. But we don't talk about that. Dr. King feared that our civil rights victories might come at the expense of our business and economic ones. In his public address, that famous mountaintop speech that he delivered the day before he was murdered, the day he led those boycotts in honor of the workers, those protests in honor of those workers, he issued a call to action to unite for economic justice and empowerment, not just civil rights. He spoke of our collective buying power, he said, and he urged an economic withdrawal. Dr. King said that from businesses on the record for discriminating against Black workers and mistreating Black customers. And not just that, King specifically on the day that before he died, specifically supported Black-owned businesses and banks. He was not just fighting for us to go to segregated white businesses. This is the quote that you don't hear enough, the one that you should know, the one that they don't play on the radio or on TV on his birthday. Dr. King said, "We've got to strengthen Black institutions. I call upon you to take your money out of the banks downtown and deposit it into Tri-State Bank. We want a bank-in movement in Memphis. We're just telling you to follow what we're doing. Put your money there." He said, "Put your money there." He asked us to support Black banks and businesses, and then he died, and so did the solidarity, and so did the wealth and the role model and the jobs and the hope and the pride and the new businesses that could have come from that solidarity. In the 2 decades after Dr. King's murder, it became fashionable to abandon our banks and our businesses, to show and prove how equal we are, that we're good enough to buy products and shop at stores and spend and invest with businesses that used to deny us. And in so doing, in making that point, over 85% of our 120 Black-owned banks disappeared. We still have one United Bank now, a small national bank owned by my friends, fellow revolutionaries, Harvard law grads who could be doing whatever they want, Terry and Kevin Cohee. And that bank has $650 million in assets, and that's good. And that makes it our largest Black-owned bank. Largest Asian American bank is East West Bank, $38 billion in assets. Largest Hispanic American bank, Banco Popular, $48 billion with a B dollars in assets. Our largest bank does not have $1 billion. In the 1930s, grocery stores represented the largest category of Black-owned businesses. We had 6,400. In the 21st century, there were only 19 Black-owned grocery stores. I'm sure most of you cannot name one. When those researchers at Kellogg did this study based on our year, they could only find evidence of 8 to 12 Black-owned grocery stores in the United States of America in 2010. It's not just the banks, it's not just the stores. We lost Black hair care too. The one industry birthed by the Black community, belonging to us, sustaining us, helping us, especially Black women, thrive and achieve the American dream. In 1986, less than 2 decades after Dr. King died, Irving J. Botner, who was the CEO of Revlon, when he was asked about competition from Black-owned firms in the black hair care industry, he said this to Newsweek in 1986. In the next couple of years, the Black-owned businesses will disappear. They'll all be sold to white companies. And he was right. We let him be right. Spoten Wave, Let's Jam, Carefree Curl, Strength of Nature, Cream of Nature, Dark and Lovely, Smooth and Shine, Dark and Natural, Stay Soft Fro. All of those businesses belong to L'Oreal, a French company owned by Liliane Bettencourt, who died in 2017, and her family still owns all those black brands, and when she died, she was the world's richest woman. How do you think she got that rich? L'Oreal and Unilever, they saw what we had built in this lucrative black hair care industry, and they also saw how swiftly black people would leave our own brands for white companies that offered ethnic alternatives and beautiful black faces and kente cloth on the boxes. That's what we did. By 2000, L'Oreal owned all the largest black hair companies, and a couple years ago, Unilever put the nail in the coffin when they bought Nubian Brands, the owner of all the Shea Moisture brands. So now we don't have anything. All the big ones are gone. They're owned by Unilever and L'Oreal. And last I checked, Liliane Bettencourt and L'Oreal ain't funding the NAACP or African American educational and rights organizations like Madam C.J. Walker died doing. And guess what? L'Oreal has no black firms in her supply chain. No black suppliers in the supply chain. Just black buyers at the end of that supply chain. You think about that. Botner was right, but we made him right. And now, black businesses, families, and communities have nothing to show for our industry. No power in the thriving and still booming black hair care industry. That's our fault. We gotta stop settling for these commercials with beautiful black families and black soul music in the background with our kids dancing around so happy to be using their products. Those commercials don't create jobs, especially since they don't even use black ad agencies or media companies to create those commercials. We have fantastic black hair care companies, we just don't support them. But it's not just that. Sometimes we can't even support our own. In North Philadelphia, a black area in Philly, over 90% of the businesses in that area are not locally or black owned. Black hair and beauty supply stores, y'all know I'm telling the truth, in black neighborhoods with 100% black clientele every day, less than 3% of those beauty supply stores are black owned. So, it's so bad now that over our $1 trillion in black buying power, only 2 to 3% of that goes back to the community, our community that needs the wealth and the jobs and the businesses and the opportunity. Only 3% of our money is actually ours. Why? What happened to us? What will happen to us if we don't do something about this? Langston Hughes, poet activist Langston Hughes, prophesied about what would happen to our community if we lost our economic solidarity. He wrote, "The tallest tower can tumble down if it not be rooted in solid ground." So being a far-seeing and practical man, he said, train your head, your heart, and your hand. Your fate is here and not afar, so let down your bucket where you are. Your fate is here and not afar, so let down your bucket where you are. Put your money there, King said. Let down your bucket, Langston said. So I pour into my bucket. My coffee, my pizza, my alarm system, my pediatrician, my dentist, my neurologist, my optometrist, my reading glasses, John glasses, my wine, my vodka, my popcorn, my nightclubs, John's dress shirts, his ties, his cufflinks, all my makeup, my perfume, my hair products, my restaurants, my dry cleaners, my designer purses and shoes. Oh, my mortgage and my second mortgage, all of that is black. John's shaving cream is black. You don't have to use Magic Shave, by the way. You don't have to use Magic Shave. There's plenty black-owned companies that do black shave creams. My soap, black soap. My soap black. My soap black. And I ain't buy the soap because it's black. I buy the soap because a wonderful black family company that invests in the community makes it. But it is cool to say I use black soap. What I'm trying to say is it's not too late and it's not too hard. That's how I live my life. I'm not some depressed and overworked activist because I gotta look for black companies. Once I let my bucket down, it's not as hard as you think, and not nearly as hard as the situation is dire. And here's the kicker. Here's the kicker. You ready? I'm still fly. My makeup is on point. I know it is, and it's black owned. Lamique Cosmetics out of Houston. Sister Kim Roxy owns that business. I'm still fly, and my money is still safe, FDIC insured, just like yours, in a black bank. And when you buy my book tonight, that's where that money is gonna go, to Liberty Bank. I have money in other banks too, but when I think about King being killed the day after he told us to put some money in black banks, I found a way to put some of my money into a black-owned bank. It's not that hard, and it's not too late. How? You ask me how? I shouldn't have to tell you. We're going to use our smarts. We're going to tell the truth. We're going to speak out. We're going to speak up. And we're going to ask some questions. Let's ask Hennessy. I did, and they won't tell just how much money they make off of black consumers. But I got just as much up here as I do in here. So I did my own research, and I learned that at least 60% of Hennessy's U.S. revenues come from black consumers. At least 60%. Oh, let me back up for a minute. Here I am, hosted by President Reverend Melvin and CBTU's sanctified soldiers and all you righteous revolutionaries. I'm sure none of you even know what Hennessy is. Please forgive my disrespect, Pastor Melvin. Hennessy is a cognac that is very popular among black people. You know, other black people. None of you guys, of course. But after I did my research, Wall Street Journal followed up, and their estimates put it at above 80%. And with their company, therefore, wholly dependent on our consumers to survive, you know, they don't even have a supplier diversity program. They don't even have, like, the mission statement, the fake black-white handshake on the website, try to fool somebody. They don't got none of that, much less a practice to use black distributors, black suppliers, black press, in their supply chain. They might hire some black rappers for the commercials. They throw a couple of parties at a couple of the conferences, Urban League, but they ain't doing business with us. With that kind of money, there should be Hennessy hospitals in Harlem. There should be a new chemistry lab at every HBCU. Hennessy should have funded the new coalition of black trade unionists, Let My Bucket Down, entrepreneurship, apprenticeship center, and I should be teaching at it. Seriously, though, over 80% of that money comes from us. Hennessy should have large accounts with black-owned banks. There should be a dozen major black Hennessy distributors that should be sponsoring this conference, and there should be significant advertising in black-owned media. Am I crazy for saying that? Am I being unreasonable? Am I a radical? Because that's what they call me. Am I asking too much? Did King ask too much when he told us to put our money there and to black banks and businesses? Is this a waste of your time this Sunday evening? Because Hennessy is thriving while black communities, their consumers' communities, are falling apart. But no one wants to talk about that. We won't talk about that, and because we won't talk and we don't ask, we don't take the next step. We don't let our bucket down for great companies like Heritage Link Brands, a wonderful black-owned wine company, wines available in mass retailers all over the country. We should be drinking it tonight. Owned by husband and wife, Harvard MBAs. Of Mandela, run by the women of the Mandela family, Makaziwe and Tukwini, respectively the daughter and granddaughter of Nelson Mandela. And my favorite heritage wine is called Bukatrabe. I drink a lot of Bukatrabe. A lot of Bukatrabe. I have to, because there is nothing that Maggie Anderson won't do for the movement. So if I got to drink that wine to support those workers and those business owners in Africa, then I guess I got to drink that wine. I do it for the movement, y'all. I do it for the motherland. Okay, good, I got y'all listening. Stay with me. It's not that hard and it's not too late. My experiment, the empowerment experiment, we proved what we can do with data. if some of us, just some of us, were to increase our spending from that 3% that I told you about to 10%, no one's asking you to live my life, to just 10%, we could create 1 million new American jobs. 1 million jobs, new jobs from the money that we already have and currently spend, just 10% going to quality businesses that we already have and currently neglect. No government program, no begging and bribing and blackmailing, no corporate donation, just spending with our own. So are you ready for that? Are you going to go back to that black-owned business that you went to a couple of years ago where you received not so great service? You giving Trump a try? Can a brother or sister get a second chance? I'm sick and tired of having to tell my daughters what we used to have and how we used to be and what we used to do. How they used to be able to go to the corner for ice cream or candy and be welcomed by a local black business owner who looked like them and looked out for them. I want our girls to know that not only they can buy from Sears, that was the 50s and 60s, or work at Sears, we fought for that. My children need to know that they can own Sears, and maybe it's time we fight for that too. So let me see now. I gave you my year, my baby girls with no milk and no shoes. I gave you Hennessy and Heritage Link brands. I gave you the study, the 1 million jobs. I told you about the lost grocery stores and the banks and the hair care companies. Okay, so it's time for you to pull out your Bibles. Don't look at me crazy. We still black, right? It's Sunday, right? I've been talking about Hennessy and all this wine, I know, but please know that I have not forgotten who my God is. So let me tell you about Daniel. Remember the first time that Daniel took a stand for God? In verses 1 through 21, we see King Nebuchadnezzar had taken Daniel, who is especially smart and strong, to have him integrated and trained in the ways of the Chaldeans. In verse 8, it says, "But Daniel resolved that he would not defile himself with the king's rich food or the wine which he drank. And while it was tough for honoring God with that commitment, God gave Daniel favor." It says, God gave Daniel favor and compassion in the sight of the chief of the eunuchs. That's a wonderful story. It's about taking a stand. Daniel shows us in that scripture that God does not insist that we give up everything to take a stand. He didn't want Daniel to starve. He didn't want Daniel to be killed. He just wanted him to perceive the power he already had. Just like we need to do. Perceive what we already have. Y'all still ain't feeling me. I think y'all missed that. They missing it. Brother Kelly, I might need you to come up here and help me a little bit with this scripture. I'm going to try one more time. Verses 12 and 13, Daniel proposed an experiment so that he could honor God but not starve or get killed. It says, "Please test us for 10 days on a diet of vegetables and water. At the end of the 10 days, see how we look compared to the young men who are still eating the king's food." God is so good. Y'all about to get it? Y'all about to get it? Let me show you God's glory in his hand in this movement. I am Daniel. And I said, "Lord, give me 1 year. Test me for 1 year on the diet of the fruit and the talents and the goods and the labor of my struggling but still strong black community. And at the end of that year, see how I look compared to those other bougie black professionals who are still eating the king's food." So I ask you, CBTU, how do I look? Do I look sad and worn out and depressed that my king is dead and my businesses are dead and dying, and just as quickly and quietly our children are dying in those places where King's dream was denied? Or do I look strong and ready to continue his fight in their honor? Am I weak because I didn't eat the king's food? How do I look, unionists? Look at me now. See me, your servant, your soldier, your Daniel, who took a stand for you, who is still taking that stand for you. Brothers and sisters, I wasn't even sure I was going to go here tonight, but let me tell you, now that I've given you all of the data and the stories and the facts, let me tell you why this is so real to me. Almost 4 years ago, Eugene Mitchell, my best friend, he's an executive at New York Life, big baller type like you, Rick May, committed to help me. He was going to figure out a way to get his company to get behind a tour so I could teach and preach all over the country and push support to black-owned businesses, and I could also get them to support his black insurance agents. Made sense. Stay with me. Summer 2015, we announced our tour in Detroit. Over 200 Black-owned newspapers showed up from across the country. And the day after, I spoke in Grand Rapids, then Atlanta, then Montgomery. 5 days later, on July 1st, I'm in baggage claim. Ain't even made it home yet, and I got a call from the doctors. And I found out that I'm sick. And it turns out the doctors say I've been sick for a while, but the symptoms had only showed up right when we started this tour. I have adult onset muscular dystrophy. Then suddenly, I started to get the symptoms. I got weaker and weaker, sicker and sicker, so fast, all in that summer. It happened so fast. I couldn't walk upstairs, I couldn't drive, I couldn't pick up a carton of juice. I wondered, how will I serve now? How will I be of service now? And I called Eugene, my friend and partner, and I told him I can't do the tour, I can't do the empowerment experiment anymore. And Eugene, to prove his unyielding faith in me, because he was my angel from God, he asked me, Maggie, just come speak at this conference. It's Black insurance agents. I want you to speak. My condition had worsened, and I couldn't get out of a chair by myself. I was sad, and I was scared, and I was worried about people looking at me and pitying me. I didn't want to do it. I couldn't stand up, but I was supposed to give a speech about taking a stand. As weak as I was, God sent me this angel who said that I was supposed to tell people about being strong. So I did, and it was amazing. Amazing. But this is the most important part of the story. It's what happened after. Stay with me. After the speech, they helped me off the stage, and everyone jumped out of their seats. The audience just surrounded me, and they hugged me, and they held me, and they cried for me. All of these are strangers, all races, because they saw that I was sick, that I didn't look like I would make it through the year, and they didn't want to overlook that to be polite. They came to me, and they surrounded me, and then they laid hands on me, and they spoke tongue over me, and they prayed on me, and I believe that that night I was healed. I believe that. I believe that night they gave me the strength to continue this fight. Seriously, this is true. Ever since that night, I've been getting stronger. A few days after that night, I got off my medication, and for these 3 years now, since, without medication, no doctors, every city, every event, every business or church or group or school that I unite with, I get stronger. Every time I'm out there with y'all, I come home stronger. Happening 3 years now. So look at me, CBTU, that I'm standing here, that I can wave my arms like this, that I can run up and down like this. The doctor said degenerative, genetic, irreversible muscle disease. That's what they said, that my muscles, once strong, would destroy themselves. Ain't that what they say about us? That once strong, we will end up destroying ourselves. That's what the doctors say, that I'm supposed to just wither away and rot away and waste away and forget who I was and how strong I was and focus on how weak I was. That's what they said. Stay weak, broken, and then die. That's what they said. But God said, I need you to march, Maggie. I need you to march with these Black-owned businesses. I need you to march with these workers. So get up and march. Get up. And God showed me that no matter what they do or what they say, we will always have more power than pain. Always. God showed me that I got to lift up those who need it even when I need lifting up myself. God showed me, and I can see it now, and I can see it everywhere, that there's hurt everywhere, but there's healing everywhere too. Right, Reverend Melvin, God showed me that I'm showing you tonight that we must sacrifice first and know that the strength we'll need will follow. His strength, our strength will follow. So say it, sacrifice first. And the strength will follow. Woo! I felt that. I just got stronger just then. I felt it. I got stronger. And I get stronger every day. I'm telling you, this is true. Every day I got to use that strength. This is what I do every day. Every day I'm wiping the sweat of Sojourner. Every day I'm still holding the outstretched hand of Harriet. Every day I'm bathed in the blood of Megas, and I'm still marching over that bridge in Selma. Every day. I am Daniel, and I lost Mima that year, but her blood is still pumping in my veins, and I'm stronger still. I'm strong because of the movement. I'm strong because of you. I am strong like King was. He was strong that day, even though he knew his death was imminent. He was strong because he was with the workers. He was strong because he was with the workers. Don't you see? When King linked arms with those workers that he declared he could see over the mountaintop. That's when he said it. It was because of the unity that you showed him. It was because of the strength that you gave him that he knew we'd make it to the promised land. It was in that speech with the workers, that mountaintop speech, when he was fighting for the workers the day before they killed him. That was when he said, put your money there. That's when he said, we got to support black institutions. He was with the workers, with you, when he said, we got to build up black institutions. We were united then for our businesses and our workers. We were united that day. Will we unite again? Will we unite for a better tomorrow, like our theme says? I believe we will. I believe, because I've peered over the mountaintop too. And when I claimed victory over this disease and I was able to stand again and stand up tall, I was able to see over that mountaintop. And when we stand up together, Cherie, Yolanda, Isabel, Carla, my new sisters, when we stand together as sisters, Larry, when we stand up together as black people, black workers, black families, black believers, and black business owners, Bill Lucy, when we lift each other up, even though we need lifting up ourselves, when we sacrifice first, knowing that the strength will follow, we will not only see over the mountaintop, we move mountains. We make miracles. In the movement, do you believe me? Do you believe? Do you believe I've been healed in this movement? Do you believe that there ain't no movement for economic justice or empowerment without the workers? There is no movement. So if you believe, if you are serious about our theme, united for a better tomorrow, if you believe that I am strong even though they say I'm weak, if you believe that of our businesses and our neighborhoods, that they are still strong even though they say they are weak, if you believe that it was the workers who gave King the strength to fight for economic justice on the day before he died, if you believe that we can make his dying dream really come true, then you need to do something. You need to stand up with me, stand up in here like you will for us, for them out there. Show me your strength. I've shown you mine. Give me some more healing this evening. Because if they tell me that I can no longer stand, if this disease comes back, I need to know that each and every one of you in here will keep standing out and keep speaking up and keep working and uniting and believing. You're going to keep letting your bucket down so that our tall tower will never tumble down. Thank you. Thank you. I love you, CBTU. Thank you, Larry. Thank you, Ken. Thank you, President Melvin. Thank you, all of you. Thank you, Bill Lucy, for making this happen. I love you guys.
you, God has blessed us. See, I'm going to lay it out for y'all the way I got it. And I'm going to be brief. Bill Lucy had a vision. They founded the Coalition of Black Trade Unionists. We got our president, Terry Melvin, who's keeping the dream alive. We don't get this many people at the legislative conference, the National Black Conference of State Legislators, and we got over, 700 and some members. So I just want you to know that today, she said, we are the employees, but it's time for us to be the employers. So now I'm going to tell you what we're going to do in the Show Me State, because the idea popped in my head. Since we got all of these companies and they making all of this money off of African American people, we need to make them do an investment in African American businesses. So you know, the St. Louis chapter of CBTU, we the Show Me State, and so we used to showing y'all how to do it. So we're gonna create our little committee, and we're gonna be an extension of her. The vision that God gave her can't grow unless we make it grow. So we're going to be an extension of her. And we're going to look at these businesses and banks, and we're going to empower a movement of black businesses to employ black issues and black movements so that the dream can stay alive. So now she wants you to invest too. She has books for you today for sale in the back. I would not leave here without a book, especially if you're a chapter president, because we need this and we need to get moving right now. Because see, me as a legislature, I go through the laws of the state of Missouri, and what I do is write us back in because they wrote us out. So all the promulgated rules of the department that eliminate African Americans, because they do over $1 billion. Your state is doing more than $1 billion in contracts every year. You need to look at how much of that goes to black businesses and what's your percentage of the population. Because in my state, it's about 1/10 of it that goes to black businesses. So I'm telling you, we got work to do. So, you know, the executive committee does have the privilege.